We used 1-inch square tubing to construct the rack that'll hold our canoe on the Razor. There are commercial racks available, and if you have the time and the tools, you can build your own. And this is just one way that we've built a rack for this particular vehicle, and I hope you get some ideas out of it and just see some of the ideas that we incorporated into this rack. This is my son's machine, and we came up between the two of us of a system of pins and posts that we can easily remove the rack at any time. Now it's unpainted yet, but this has all just been put together, test to make sure everything works. So I'll just demonstrate how the pins and posts work. These are simply pins you can buy at any agricultural store or hardware store. Release the clip, pull the pin, and the rack lifts off. And you're left with this post. Now we designed this in such a way that the post is mounted high on the bar rather than low down, and that keeps the actual post supporting the canoe out of your line of vision. The tonneau cover simply fits over top of the post, and as I zoom in here, you'll see that we put, this is a piece of conveyor belt material, very thin. We've just put that over top of the bracket so that when the tonneau cover fits over, it's rubbing on a rubber belt and not on the corner bracket. Here I've zoomed in to give you a better view, and you can see where the post fits over and it's pinned in place. This close-up view from the side shows how we made a heavy 1/8 inch bracket here. This carries a fair bit of load, so we made it out of substantial stock and bent it here using heat, and then mounted the post onto the bracket. And we simply bolted right through the existing roll bar on the machine to make for a good solid post to carry our rack. Now at the back, you'll see we've used the same idea. The pin post. Remove the pin and slide the rack off. Now these posts are attached to the rack with a single bolt and a bit of a saddle. I'll show you how that works. What we did here is we welded a bracket, a flat piece of flat stock, onto the pin, and I shaped it around a piece of pipe very similar size to the roof rack, and this just slips over top and goes on with a bolt. Now these parts are going to stay on the rack, on the actual roll bar all the time, and all we're going to do is remove the rack when we don't need it. Now on top of the crossbar that's going to hold the canoe, it's just bare metal, and this vehicle is going to be off-road all of the time, so the canoe is going to slide back and forth on this thing if it becomes loose in any way. So one thing I want to add to it, we've got some conveyor belt material here. I cut down into strips that fit nicely on the top of the crossbar, and we're just going to punch out some holes, and this will be riveted right to the crossbar and be on all the time, so when we slide the canoe on, it's not going to slide off when we're loading it, and also when we're going down the road, it's going to sit snugly. When the tie downs are pulled down, the canoe will actually sink into the rubbery surface of the conveyor belt material and keep it in place. So we're just punching these out with a to take a 3/16 rivet. I'm just using a hand punch here. And you can quickly punch out the holes for your rivets.
conveyor belt material is very tough and grabs a hold of that punch. It doesn't want to let go. And there we have it. Got our 2 strips, one for each for the front and back, all our holes punched in it, and we'll be putting them on with a rivet that'll be drilled right through into the metal and hold that secure. All my parts are painted now, so I've got my 2 racks. This is the front or the rear rack, the smaller one. The larger one I have in the vise already below me here. And now we're going to apply the rubber conveyor belt material right across the top of the rack. And that'll prevent our canoe from slipping and also provide for a more secure tie down. I'll just show you some close-up details. So here's our belting material. I've punched it out with a punch where our rivets are going to go. And then one other little detail here is I took a piece of angle iron and I welded it onto the end here, and that again, as we're loading the canoe or the boat, it doesn't slide off and drop off on you, just enough to keep it in place there. Our rack's now complete and we've got it mounted and all painted up, and you can see how nice and neat it looks on the rig. Here's a view from above showing the angle iron end stop. It's to keep the canoe from sliding off when you're loading it. And also our rubber conveyor belt material that we have riveted to the rack. We're loaded up and ready to go. I'm really pleased with the design, and you can see the stop on the end of the rack here just works perfectly for keeping the canoe on. If you're loading on a slope, it keeps it from sliding off. Here's a collection of stills just showing the progress of the rack during construction and the trial of the canoe on top for fit. In these shots you see the rig loaded with the canoe on top. In these stills we just show you the final product loaded on the truck and ready to go for fun. This is my son's truck and my son's RZR, and it's ridiculously high, but using his ramps he manages to crawl up there and get her loaded. It's quite the sight going down the road, especially when he has his travel trailer hooked on the back. He's well equipped for the bush.